Let's jump now to Daniel Jeremiah's top 50. And how we're going to look at this is just the surprise names in his top 50. Guys that we're surprised at their ranking and where they fit and all that stuff compared to PFF's draft board.
Or just like anyone else.
Notables.
You know.
The notables. Daniel Jeremiah has Jamar Chase as the number 2 prospect in the 2021 NFL draft. How is this not Devontae Smith? You're overthinking it. Oh, he's the Heisman. First Heisman since Desmond Howard. We have tweeted out or Instagrammed so much content about Devontae Smith being the number 7 prospect or number 8 prospect on our board, not the best receiver prospect, and people are losing their goddamn minds. Daniel Jeremiah, former NFL scout, one of the most respected analysts in the draft media, has Jamar Chase as number 2 ahead of Devontae Smith for all of the right reasons.
And the interesting thing to me is, so he doesn't make his board based off of value like we do. Like we're high on
quarterbacks, receivers, tackles, corners.
Yeah, like he'll put TJ Hawkinson as a top 5 if he thinks TJ Hawkinson's like
he'll put
that
running backs high.
Prospect. Yeah. So Jamar Chase, then he's just saying like the rarity of him at his position is number 2. He's like a more rare, better prospect than Kyle Pitts, which I actually disagree with. But like he is high on Jamar Chase to put him at 2 overall. Obviously, much higher than even we are here at PFF, and we're saying he's better than Devontae Smith. Like, and it's difficult for me to disagree. What he did as a true sophomore, I find too many seasons that are even close than in college football history in terms of like production at that age.
Against good corners. He went against Trayvon Diggs, AJ Terrell. Like he went against some legit cornerback talent that year too. Like at 19 and bullied kids. Absolutely bullied kids.
Yeah. So calls him a faster Anquan Bolden, which I like because Anquan Bolden is the most overused comp in draft comp history. Every wide receiver that runs over a 4.6 will get the Anquan Bolden comp with bar none. N'Keal Harry got the Anquan Bolden comp. I think Sage Surratt's going to get some Anquan Bolden comps this year. They're not going to be Anquan Bolden because he was a different dude in terms of what he was. Like he was jacked out of his mind.
He's one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL in his prime. I loved Anquan Bolden.
So don't make the Anquan Bolden comp, but like with Jamar Chase, faster Anquan Bolden, I'm like,
it's only because DJ's doing it. You love DJ. All right. The boldest thing on his top 50 is he has Northwestern's offensive tackle Rashaan Slater at 6, ahead of Penei Sewell, who he has at 10. That, in my opinion, is one of the bolder takes of the 2021 draft class. Like it is that bold.
So when he tweeted out that initially in the fall that he had Slater over Sewell in terms of like tape grades, I was at dinner and I had to like get up and go. Like I went to the bathroom, like, holy shit, I saw it on my phone. I'm like, I gotta go. Like I gotta like think about this.
Wow.
I'm like,
was that with your last girlfriend?
No.
Oh.
That was, I don't know where I was. But I'm just like, I got to take a second to process this because that's insanity to me. I still went back, have gone back and watched. Still insanity to me. Talked to people who I respect their opinions about offensive line play. I could see why you would. He is better at playing tackle, like, how the fuck am I trying to say? Technically. He's technically better at playing tackle. He is not near the physical, not near the complete prospect in terms of all he brings to the table that Penei Sewell is. No one is that we've seen in recent years. So Penei Sewell at 10 is just, we're going to have DJ on to talk about it.
We have to at this point. He's a friend of the pod.
Yeah.
He also has Trey Lance, and we've had him on the podcast, I think, earlier in the year.
It was early, right
where he said he was big on Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Saw him as
this one's not surprising.
Yeah.
Having said,
sees him potentially better than even Zach Wilson at that point. He has Trey Lance at 11, ahead of Justin Fields at 12.
Yes. That was interesting to me, and not surprising because he said, Trey Lance is the most talented of this group. Maybe not the best, but like most talented. It's hard to disagree. Like that arm is, I tweeted out all the longest throws from all the quarterbacks.
I love that thread.
And his is the most impressive in terms of the zip he gets on it with no windup. Flat footed, just boom,
no effort.
62 yards. It's like he has a cannon. He can run very well.
Good size.
But just like Justin Fields you're not going to convince me he's better than Justin Fields' prospect. Could be better in like 3 or 4 years, but like Justin Fields, dude is very accurate and he has like a strong arm in his own right.
Yeah.
Like Fields has he has high level NFL tools.
The next
we're
one
haggling over high end at that point. It's like when you're met the high end threshold already, does it behoove you to go like 10 steps, like 3-4 steps further? I don't think so. Like you're already at the high end. Like that extra layer of arm strength, it's not going to make you theoretically that extra level of better.
How big are his hands?
Ooh,
We
we'll
need
find
to
out.
get a hand size on here, or else we're busts. You know, the quarterback talent. It's all about.
If I see a
size,
number
not
that starts
hand
with
size.
an 8,
I'm out.
it's dead to me.
Number 23, he has Washington's Levi Onwuzurike, who I thought did not have a good Senior Bowl, and maybe when he published this, I think before the Senior Bowl.
Correct.
So I think you could see in his next update Levi fall a bit because I mean he was getting dominated by Quinn Miners. Like Quinn Miners was bullying the kid. So Levi might be on his way down, but at 23 right now, that is a bit of a surprise.
So I will say, Onwuzurike played out of position a majority of the time at Washington. Played a lot of nose. He's not a nose tackle. He is very athletic. The quote-unquote upside that he possesses is more than a lot of defensive tackles in this draft class. But, man, he just really hasn't, like, taken that next step at any point. Like, he's graded out fairly well for, I think, 2 straight years, but just, like, never been a consistent impact player at defensive tackle. And it's like he's a redshirt senior now. And then you can kind of forgive the Senior Bowl because he hadn't played football all fall, and that's just going to be tough going from nothing to live competition like that. But like that was his MO also at Washington, was that just like he didn't have the consistency. It would be 1 splash play and then 3 plays where it's like that guy's an NFL prospect. So that's just a very high ranking compared to
another really high ranking is having Louisville's Tutu Atwell at 31, who we did have on the podcast, and I think does a lot of things that other receivers in this class can't. Like he is a freak in his own right, a smaller dude that can be a gadget player with a ton of speed. But at 31, ahead of Rondale Moore, another guy that would be playing a similar role in the NFL, I think that's where I have reservation. It's like, okay, if I'm bringing in a Tutu Atwell, and I know I have to scheme him targets and these things, look at his route map. I tweeted out Tutu Atwell's route map. I mean, it was digs, slot verticals, and behind the pass stuff, behind the line of scrimmage stuff. Like you are not getting a guy that can run all the routes. And I think if you're going to buy into that role, I'd rather have Rondale.
Yeah. The reason you are high on Tutu Atwell and have him above guys like Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, is like those true slot guys, is because his 40 starts with a 4.2.
Yeah.
And theirs starts with maybe a 4.3.
He told me he's been the fastest kid on his team his entire life.
And he is. The dude can fucking blaze. But even on like vertical routes, he's not like nuanced. He's kind of just like the dude is sprinting down the football field. And that can like get
with
you separation
free releases
in college.
too. With free releases over the middle of the field, and the Louisville quarterback's just throwing it up there. But you also have to look at, I think the thing that stood out to me, and I think one of the first things you look at when you're looking at a smaller receiving prospect is his catches through contact, or even handling contact late in the route. Like you see him struggle. The catch radius is never going to be there for Tutu. And I think, again, Tutu, fantastic player, all the speed in the world, but you're going to have to scheme a role for him. And if I'm going to do that for Tutu, I don't know if I want to do that and pick him 31. I want a guy that can win in multiple roles and those things. All right, 39. And I think this could fall too, honestly. I liked what I saw from Aaron Robinson of UCF at the Senior Bowl, but I still am unconvinced he is the best slot cornerback in this class. I don't think he is the best slot cornerback in this class. I'd probably tip my cap to Molden there, or even Asante Samuel Jr. So with that being said, I don't know if I want to bring him in as high as 39. That's where Daniel Jeremiah has him on his board.
I don't think he's a pure slot. Like I think he can play outside. Yeah, his arms weren't that long, but like the way he plays the position, he's not like a lot of other slot cornerbacks where it's like they're 5'9". They're never just going to hang on the outside. They're 5'9", 195. Like that's just not going to happen on the outside. I don't think that's the case with Robinson at all. But we just never saw it. So if you haven't seen it, you feel a little less. Like I think he has the skill set to do it though.
The
but
physicality,
also
the mentality is there though.
But yeah, doesn't have great length. I don't think he's exceptionally fast. He's kind of just like solid. To me, he's like a he's like a mid-late day 2 guy.
You have him, I think, in the 50s or 60s on PFF's draft board. Next one here, and I actually really like Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome here at 40, the Northwestern. I think it's Greg Newsome the second, Northwestern cornerback. There were a handful of clips that I can't share on Twitter from the All-22 on that Big Ten tape that like, oh man.
Dude, yeah, flex the All-22.
Gotta flex the All-22. But there are a handful of clips on there where like, okay, this guy could break on the ball. Like he has, I think, some good movement skills, some good change of direction. There's not a lot of tape of him.
That's what I was gonna say with this. This is just I worry about competition he faced. He had only 6 games this year of like that's the tape you're going off of, because last year he wasn't that good. 59.4 coverage grade last season, was not nearly the player he was this past year, and he gets hurt midway through the Ohio State game. That's the only real receivers he played. The other game, Nebraska, Purdue, I guess David Bell for Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Illinois. That's like, you might as well be at BYU with the competition you're playing there if you're in the Big Ten West. Excuse me. That's just not, like, until he played Ohio State, he really hadn't faced a guy that was legit. And then against Ohio State, a lot of off, only a few reps where he's actually trying to stick with the guy one-on-one. And like, yeah, I like his movement skills. Yeah, I like his size, but it's just, we really haven't, I don't think, in my opinion, seen enough that I'm comfortable putting him at 40. But like, he's good. Like, I'm not hating. I'm saying that's different.
Where is he right now on PFF Sport for you?
In the 60s on PFF Sport also. I'll find it. You go ahead.
I think when you bring up the Ohio State receivers, I talked to Sean Wade recently, and that's going to play on the Monday episode of 2-for-1 Drafts, and I talked about Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson.
He is 60.
And he said Chris Olave is faster, which I thought was surprising. Garrett Wilson looks like he has some juice, but Chris Olave is faster and can get on you. But he said Garrett Wilson has these catches in practice and this like freakish, like spectacular catchability and like route running that, like, he says will just blow you away. Like he is a freak
monster
at the receiver. Like a big thing he kept saying was he understands the game very, very well and can do all of the things. Like Chris Olave is a burner and can get on you, but Garrett Wilson, he talked about Garrett Wilson like he was talking about like Randy Moss.
I told you, I saw one blaze out as a freshman, and I'm like, I immediately go and look up who that was. Garrett Wilson. I'm like, that guy's gonna be awesome. You can't, like, it's a route where it's like you're either physically capable of that or you're not. You don't teach a guy to do that. He has it. He
also had a very good take. I talked to him about Devontae Smith in that matchup. He had a very good take about weight and how much it matters at the receiver position. He kind of scoffed at it. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you are getting open and getting after the catch, it doesn't matter. It's like most receivers are small. Like we ask our receivers to play small. Like, you want to be fast and get in and out of your breaks. And I thought how much disdain he had for like the weight being a problem, I thought was interesting. There's a lot of good stuff on that weight interview. All right, Patrick Jones at 42. I can't get on board with this.
I think this is going to be the biggest difference between us and maybe like general public on a prospect. He's 120 something on our board.
Oh, wow.
We're just not. I just don't see it. And like, he doesn't even have long arms for an edge rush. 32-inch arms, even though he's like 6'5". He is. In the 120s, I think, on our board. I should find it. But 42, the lowest win rate in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. 135, actually, on our board. It's just like, I don't think he's, and as a senior coming out, not necessarily a young prospect like some of the other edges in this draft class. So, like, you're maybe not banking on that next level of development. This is going to be the biggest difference between us and probably mass media on a guy.
Number 45 here, Marlon Tuipulotu of Utah. USC, sorry.
USC.
He, I thought, had some splashy or flashy reps at the Senior Bowl, but didn't win consistently, which was a concern.
So this one, it's not going to be me hating on TJ, but I can guarantee you I know which games he watched this year. Mm-hmm. He watched the Utah game where he had 6 pressures, and he watched the Arizona State game where he had 5 run stops and 2 sacks. He definitely watched those 2 games to put him at 45 overall, because I watched those 2 games, and I remember texting Eric Galco of Optimum Scouting. I'm like, hey, have you seen this USC DT, Marlon Tuipulotu? I actually like him better than JT Fele, who's getting like this early round hype. But then you go and watch his other tape, and it's not the same. It is not the same as that. Now, is that what he's capable of, or did he just go against 2 trash bag offense lines?
Hard to say,
but he had a 74.9 overall grade on the season. He was not that level of dominance that, to us, would garner a top 50 pick, especially at defense tackle where it's not necessarily the most valuable position. And I even like him. This is kind of like the LJ Collier thing from a few years ago. It's like, I felt I was high on him, calling him like a top 80 guy on our board. I think it's where he's at. And all of a sudden, like, LJ Collier goes in the first round when we had him like 55th on our board, and we were like an outlier having him 55th. That to me is like Marlon Tuipulotu. It's like, I like him a lot, but 45, I don't see him as that high on our board.
Yeah. I think the other thing too, we've talked to Dalen Jeremiah about his process before, and he talks about, for any prospect, he starts with, like, he talks about this process of earning a game or earning a third game, where like you're watching a first game of a prospect, and if he sees it in the first few plays, you'll earn a second game or a third game. And I think it's interesting to think about that, because with us, and how like we're able to cut up film and stuff. Our process is sometimes like watching full seasons of a guy on all of his targets of 10 plus yards, and then watching all of his targets versus like top flight competition. Like it's definitely it's interesting because there are certain positions where you want to watch full game, like quarterback and other positions where you want to watch.
I feel like also a lot of times you want to watch full games to discern role.
Yeah.
But like we can have just the data be like, here's this role.
True. You know? No, yeah. It definitely makes it easier or quicker is probably how I'd phrase it. All right, last two guys here has James Hudson of Cincinnati at 46, which we like Hudson, but is that too high for Hudson?
I don't know.
I like Hudson a lot, dude. I like Hudson a lot.
He is
raw.
And it's like hard to really go to bat for a guy who's that raw. Does he stick a tackle? Does he go on to guard? He might start at guard early in his career. I'm not sure. But like it's just hard for me to really go to bat, top 50 pick on a guy who might be a guard who's raw.
Yeah.
And I like him. But 46.
I think you're buying into that because he is like an interesting athlete, like a guy that used to play defensive tackle, was a highly regarded recruit that went to Michigan, transfers to Cincinnati, plays tackle at a high level. Like, legit, if he plays in that entire Georgia game, I think they win. Like, and then the backup guy comes in, Azeez Ojulari takes lunch.
And it's not just like a lot of times people are like, oh, he has the tools, and like he's like, it's not just that he's explosive and has like good length. He's coordinated. Like the way he moves is like an athlete. Like is like a guy who started as defensive lineman. Like he moves in that way that is necessary to play tackle at a high level. But it's just like you're gonna have to teach him a lot.
Yeah.
He should have gone to Notre Dame is what I'm trying to say.
Stop. Golden Domers, that trash ass party school. We had a guy yesterday. We did trivia yesterday. we did trivia at a local pub, and this guy who's like, he's a nice guy, older guy, but he was asking us like where we went to school. He's like, I'm trying to get an idea of the competition. What were you guys' majors? Where'd you go to school? Yeah. And he said that Notre Dame was a big party school, and you're like, no, it wasn't. I'm
like, dude, no. I've been to a lot of college campuses. It's the worst one in terms of party.
I mean, why you're still doing 20 Miller Lights on a Saturday at 29, 30 years old is because you didn't get it at Notre Dame. Like that's the reason. I think that's why Dry January has to happen, and maybe why this relationship. It all comes full circle at the back end of the pod here. It all comes full circle.
But also, the guy tries to join our team.
Oh my God,
that guy comes over. He's like, you guys mind if I just hop in? He like starts pulling out a chair. I'm like, no, man.
Dude, that was when you went into your full like kick you off my yacht, because I'm too nice of a guy. If it was just me, I was like, yeah, of course. Even though I hate myself on the inside, but you stood your ground.
I'm like, dude, we got a team that comes every week. We're not going to break this.
People go hard in trivia around here. That's something I found out. I was at Max, which you guys have been to Max Pizza Pub one time. This was way back in college. This chick, because it was too loud, it was like, so it's like kind of a college bar, and they were trying to do trivia. And she obviously wasn't a student because she was older than everybody there at the time. She tried to threaten to stab someone.
What?
Yeah, she like stood up on the table. She's like, quiet, and she had like a knife.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's the level. That's the I mean,
that sounds like the chicks I go for.
I kind of like her.
It dissolved, but I mean, that's just a kind of that's like an example of how hard people go for trivia around here.
And last night's trivia was all music, which is horrendous. For those who don't know.
Oh yeah.
Let's open up the personal on me. I don't listen to music, and here's the backstory. When I was in an elementary school, I went to an elementary school in Oakland.
Where did music hurt you?
I was in elementary school in Oakland. And my parents did not want me to go to an Oakland middle school. So they made me transfer as an interdistrict transfer to a school in like San Leandro, Castro Valley area outside of Oakland while we still lived in Oakland. But if you're an interdistrict transfer, by the way, you have to maintain above a 3.5 to stay. Or else you have to go back to an Oakland school. And you can't get suspended, which was one of the big things. Or obviously, whatever. That's why I was goody two shoes and I had like a 3.9 or whatever. But so I go from 5th grade to 6th grade and I have no friends. I don't know anybody. And those are your formative years to learn music and like kind of like music, So the only friend I had, the only guy that would even talk to me was this heavy metal guy. This guy who was like a diehard heavy metal dude. And I was like, you know what? I'll like heavy metal to be friends with this guy because I don't have anybody else. So I got into heavy metal. I was wearing band t-shirts. I had a mohawk in middle school. It was a disaster. I legitimately like formed my personality to the guy, the only person that would talk to me in middle school. And then he ends up moving. He moves my freshman year of high school. And my entire life, I've been faking liking metal. And then I get to 9th grade and I'm like, I don't like any music. I didn't have the 7th grade Green Day years, or like Atreyu and all this random shit that people got into. What is that other band? Chemical Romance or whatever. Yeah, I never got it. I was like, Iron Maiden's cool. And then my friend was like, I kind of hate this stuff. So now I'm in 9th grade and I don't know any music. So either way, I don't know any music. Trivia last night, I was a fish. I was a dead fish. I don't know any of the songs. I don't know any of the artists. I was just there to party, unfortunately. All right, last one here, and then we'll get to the interviews. I apologize for the length of this pod here. Last guy is Deo Odingbo at 50, the UCLA guy. Or no, Notre Dame.
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. No, really?
Gold helmets. You're just...
the gold helmets threw me off.
Yeah. I'm just so sad he tore his Achilles. We didn't get to see him at the Senior Bowl. He's one of the most versatile defensive linemen in this draft class. This is one where it's like 50. I wish I could put him at 50. I like his tape a lot. That torn ACL, he's at 80 on our board. Achilles. That's just, he's not going to play as a rookie.
Yeah.
That's a tough sell.
That's tough.
And then
you could see him come down for DJ too, I think.
Yeah. So,
because this was, I think, before that news broke, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. That's going to do it, man. I like doing this kind of stuff. I like doing the looking at other people's boards and kind of getting a lay of the land of where people stand, because we always talk about not being overconfident in your own evaluation, seeing where other guys see people. I think it's important. And definitely with like
checks and balances. It's what the country is based off of.
Checks and balances, baby. Got to have checks and balances.